Since 1924, the inception of the United States Border Patrol, and by some accounts even before that, our job has been national security. The Border Patrol doesn't exist to protect borders. The Border Patrol exists to protect a way of life, to protect America. Simply put, the Border Patrol's job is to make sure that we know who and what is entering our country and when, day in and day out. National security, it's pretty much the same as your home, if you want to simplify it. If you don't know who's coming and going out of your home or what they're bringing, that you don't have any home security. The homeland security, national security is directly that, is we need to be able to determine who and what comes into our home. At a national level, our front door are the ports of entry, and that's where people should come and go. It's our job to make sure that they do that. Over the years, the specific focus of U.S. Border Patrol, or I would even say what gets highlighted, has changed. Sometimes it's economic migrants. Other times it's been narcotics. Other times after 9/11, it's been the terrorist threat. But the fundamental mission of the United States Border Patrol always has been and always will be to protect America by securing our borders. As Chief of the United States Border Patrol, I've only been doing this since February. I'm still getting comfortable in the job, but I make a lot of decisions on a daily, weekly basis. They range from special operations to multi-million-dollar investments in infrastructure, different projects. Yet no decision weighs more heavily on me than the recommendation or the selection of leadership personnel, especially key leadership personnel like Chief Patrol Agents. For those decisions, I'm keenly aware will outlast my tenure. They will affect the Border Patrol, the future of the Border Patrol, and the future of border security long after I'm gone. The Sector Chief Patrol Agent is a very critical leadership position. It requires unique skills and abilities, and they're not always the same. It's my job as the chief to really try to match up those skills and abilities with the specific issues out in the field, whether they be threats or complexity of the job or the political issues at the time in the specific locations. So it's well beyond the routine operational and administrative duties. In this specific case, each sector chief, or as we look at each sector chief's other responsibility, is to build the partnerships like we have here with Laredo College. It's not always just with other law enforcement communities, it's with the community as a whole. And that's very important going forward because we are part of the community. And again, I'll touch on that in just a minute as well. Internally and externally though, the Border Patrol chief is responsible for setting an example, definition of leadership. And he's really responsible for living out day in and day out the Border Patrol creed, which is honor first. And again, not a tagline, a way of life. So living honor first can mean different things to different people. I like to sum it up like this. Basically, it means living out day in and day out what our core values, our ethics, and our morals are. It's how we interact with citizens and non-citizens alike. Within CBP, within Border Patrol, we practice vigilance as a key factor of that, a core value. That vigilance is how we do our job every day, staying alert, making sure that in the line, we're looking to deter illegal activity, and then administrative functions, it's being alert to everything around us. How do we do our job better to make sure that we're taking care of the agents on the front line so that they really can protect America? We demonstrate on a day in and day out basis our service to country. Sometimes that means making sacrifices to get the mission done. But in the bottom line, what it really means is fundamentally supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States, protecting the liberty and protecting the homeland that the American people have charged us to do. But integrity is the cornerstone of honor first. And really that is the guide. In every decision that we make has to be ethical and it has to be based on those moral principles going forward. The Chief Patrol Agent, more than any other person, the actions have to speak louder than the words. And as an organization, we're committed to our actions speaking louder than our words. Today, I think we have some good examples out in society, but I think this has existed since the beginning of time, at least in this country. Policing in an open and free society requires a very, very high level of trust. When anybody in uniform in any level breaks that trust, it erodes the society's trust and confidence in everyone wearing the badge and the government institutions behind it. Every sector chief, besides what they do, must ensure that every agent under their command is living out honor first in a way that not only sustains that trust, but as we're seeing today, in many cases, you have to go out above and beyond and rebuild that trust. Each sector chief must respect the old, though, as they're looking at the new. The proud history and the traditions, the culture of our organization, they mean something, and we need to preserve those, but they can't get in the way of moving forward. And each sector chief has to have that fine balance of keeping what was really good about our culture, but being committed to continually getting better, to become a great organization. And that never stops. There's no end point, constantly striving forward. The Laredo sector chief specifically has to manage and balance a very, very complex border environment, one of the most complex in the nation, with the river environment. It's not a straight line by any means. Very little lateral mobility in many, many areas. You can't drive right along that river. Some very real threats just to the south, and not just economic migrants, real cartel threat. All combined with the legitimate travel that comes through this region and is an economic engine of our entire country. Balancing the law enforcement, the safety and the security with facilitating that trade and travel to keep that economic engine of not just Laredo, but our entire nation going with the amount of commerce and traffic that comes through this area. That's a lot. That's a very complex set of challenges in front of you. Complicating that more, over the next couple of years, Laredo specific is going to get an infusion of a lot more border infrastructure, a border wall system, and a lot more technology. That's going to impede the smugglers, the cartels that have been here for quite a while. And anytime that we've stymied their profit, that's created even more challenges. Historically, we've seen anytime that we're able to make a real true impact on border security, we've been invested in the wall system. There's been an uptick in violence. There's been an uptick in violent tactics. And the chief of Laredo sector is going to have to be ready for that and planning ahead. With all that said, though, Laredo's doing a really good job. The personnel in the Laredo sector have prevented over 50,000 illegal aliens from getting into the country this past year, a time when the threat is higher than ever before because of the health threat of COVID-19. Without a doubt, significant portion of the illegal aliens that have been stopped from entering the country through this corridor saved countless American lives. Unique to this area, more so than many others, is some of the smuggling techniques that consistently pack significantly large numbers of people into confined spaces like stash houses, semi-trailers, different types of trucks, limited airflow, no social distancing, and it's an incubator for what we know is a real threat. Keeping that contained at the border is not only protected lives in the interior of the U.S., it's protected the medical infrastructure along the border region so that it is still available for the public. That's a big deal. On top of that, Laredo agents have seized and taken off the streets, and we kind of stop thinking about this from the border. They've prevented over 40,000 pounds of narcotics from making it to cities and towns all across the United States. Those narcotics don't stay here. They're transiting somewhere else. I could go on, but probably one of the most important things is they've saved over 3,100 lives. There's been over 3,100 rescues made by the agents here in Laredo sector where they put their lives on the line to save other people, regardless of citizenship. And that's something to really be proud of. That's significantly more than any other sector in the nation. Those are just some of the accomplishments, but I would not do the agents justice if I didn't remind everyone that that's their 10-hour shift. But then they go home. And I'm proud to find out and look at and see that we have Border Patrol agents that the minute they take the uniform off, they're coaches, they're mentors, they're in the community, they're working with their churches, they're working in non-governmental organizations. They are Laredo as well. I think that makes this a great, unique community, that all of those family members really are the family and the community of Laredo. So U.S. Border Patrol is an integral part of Laredo, and the Chief Patrol Agent has to play a critical role in keeping those relationships going forward. So when Deputy Chief Ortiz and I sat down after Chief Chavez retired and started going through the best qualified list for who could be the next chief here, we outlined some qualifications, but very, very quickly, Chief Patrol Agent Matt Hudak rose to the top of that stack. And it's a 20,000 person organization. So there is a stack. And I want to make sure that we all understand that too. That you should be very proud of your husband, and Matt, you should be very proud of yourself for your accomplishments. Why did we pick him? I could go on and on. There's some specific skill sets, leadership in multiple different sectors, very progressive and very effective leadership. Some technical background. Obviously, you don't get to this level without that technical skills. But really, at the end of the day, what it came down to is who he is as a person and as a leader. As we looked at Laredo and the relationships that are here and how the situation is evolving, Matt's interpersonal skills really stood out. He had everything else. He's got the technical background to be able to fuse some of our data systems with the new technology, very innovative, very forward thinking. But he actually cares about people. He advocates for his troops. He advocates for the mission. But it's not at the expense of the community in a very unique way. He's always thinking about what we do and how it involves and how it affects the community. And we believe that was the perfect match for the Laredo sector and to represent the type of leadership we want in the United States Border Patrol. So in the interest of keeping this short, even though I kind of drug on a little bit, I just want to say thank you. A lot of experience, a lot of long hours, and a lot of long nights went into this, but I'm standing here before you very, very confident that we have placed the leadership of the Laredo sector in very, very good hands, that the agents in Laredo are in good hands, and that the community of Laredo is in good hands. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Honor first.
Thank you, Chief. As the Chief Patrol Agent of Laredo Sector, Chief Hudak is responsible for directing U.S. Border Patrol operations along the 171-mile stretch of the U.S.-Mexico border that covers 86,673 square miles in 101 counties. He commands over 1,900 agents and support personnel. Chief Hudak entered on duty with the U.S. Border Patrol on November 3rd, 1997, as a member of Class 356. His first duty assignment as a Border Patrol agent was at the Harlingen Border Patrol Station in the McAllen sector, now known as the Rio Grande Valley sector. He promoted to Supervisory Border Patrol agent in 2001 at the Douglas Station in Tucson sector. 2004, Chief Hudak transferred to the U.S. Border Patrol headquarters in Washington, D.C., where he helped establish and lead the Enforcement and Information Technology Division. In 2007, Chief Hudak returned to the field as Assistant Patrol Agent in charge of the Cotulla Station in Laredo Sector. In 2010, Chief Hudak promoted to the position of Patrol Agent in charge of the Laredo South Station, where he led a workforce of 500 plus Border Patrol agents. In 2012, Chief Hudak was selected as Operational Programs Division Chief in Laredo Sector. The following year, he served as Laredo Sector's Acting Deputy Chief Patrol Agent until being promoted to Deputy Chief Patrol Agent of the Del Rio Sector in 2015. 4 years later, he was elevated to the ranks of the Senior Executive Service as Chief Patrol Agent of the Big Bend Sector. Chief Hudak has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Central Connecticut State University and a master's degree in organizational leadership from Gonzaga University. Chief Hudak and his wife, Melissa, are the proud parents of 2 children. Now, I will ask Chief Scott and Chief Hudak to take center stage, please. Chief Patrol Agent Hudak will now reaffirm his commitment to the protection of the sovereign borders of the United States of America.
Raise your right hand. I state your name. I, Matthew Hudak, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All airborne personnel, attend. The name of the guidon to Chief Scott.
The change of command ceremony you are witnessing is deeply rooted in military tradition and allows Border Patrol agents to participate in this transition of leadership. The Border Patrol guidon, which is being exchanged, is unique in that it's the actual Border Patrol organizational colors that reside in the Ronald Reagan Building at Border Patrol headquarters in Washington, D.C. The 21 green and gold streamers represent each of the 20 operational sectors of the Border Patrol and the Border Patrol Academy. Chief Scott passes not only the trust and well-being of the Laredo sector, but the commitment, trust, and fidelity of our most sacred Border Patrol symbol.
Sir, I assume command.
Only 4 words are spoken as the guidon is passed to the new commander, but in those few words, the continuity of leadership advances forward. For Chief Hudak, it is declared to all that the reins of command are firmly vested in his hands. For the men and women of the Laredo sector who are sworn to lawfully protect our borders, our Constitution, and our way of life, it affirms their service and honor. For the communities we serve, it reassures our fellow citizens who are living the daily experience of freedom and sacred liberty that defines America's unique place in the world, that they shall continue to be serviced with renewed determination and unbroken accountability. At this time, Chief Patrol Agent Matthew J. Hudak will give his first official command to the agents of the Laredo sector.
All uniformed personnel, parade, rest.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the United States Border Patrol, it is my distinct honor to present to you the 20th Chief of Laredo Sector, Chief Patrol Agent Matthew J. Hudak. Chief Scott will now present Chief Hudak with the Laredo Sector streamer to be placed on his Border Patrol guidon. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. On this momentous occasion, we would like to present this symbol of greeting to Mrs. Hudak. Please join me in a round of applause for Laredo Sector's First Lady, Mrs. Melissa Hudak. Chief Hudak will present his remarks now. Chief.
Well, good morning to everyone, and certainly to our guests here and to everybody following the ceremony online. These ceremonies, as we mentioned, are rooted in tradition, and it's tradition for us to have a ceremony to commemorate that transfer of leadership, but then also to give me as the new chief the opportunity to address our entire workforce, but I think just as importantly, the community and the public that we serve. To start off, I want to say thank you to Dr. Solis, the team here, for hosting us at Laredo College. We have a tremendous partnership, and it's going to continue to increase and develop, and appreciate you all being such a strong partner. To everybody that's been involved with putting this ceremony on today, thank you. And to Chief Scott, thank you very much for making the trip all the way out here. I know the duties and obligations in DC make it difficult to break away sometimes, but it means tremendous amount to me and to our workforce to have you here with us. and certainly to my wife, Melissa, for all the support that she's given me throughout my career. She's been with me since just about the very beginning of it, and I could not have had the opportunity to be here without you. And then, of course, our two children, Hannah and Nathan, that are watching this online from home. So as we move into this new chapter of Laredo sector, I want to kind of reaffirm the commitment that I have and this organization has to this community. The chief mentioned about honor first and our core values of vigilance, service to country, and integrity. Those aren't just words that we have on the wall or words that we have in our mottos. They are the fabric of who we are. That is what we expect every Border Patrol agent and every Border Patrol employee to embody when they do the work of supporting this organization and protecting the country. It is a commitment. It's a commitment stronger than themselves. It's a willingness to sacrifice some freedoms that maybe everybody else has because we want to hold ourselves collectively to a much higher standard. When we talk about honor first, it means putting the honor of the organization, of our mission, ahead of our personal stake. It means doing the right thing, setting that right example. And my goal is that all of our Border Patrol employees within this sector are not only an example to each other, but serve as an example to the community, to the law enforcement community as a whole, and to our nation. The complexities of the job that we have, our enduring mission priorities spread the spectrum from preventing terrorism, countering transnational organized crime, securing the border, while at the same time facilitating legitimate trade and travel. That's a complex mission set that we share with the CBP organization, and certainly we focus on our efforts between the ports of entry. We have a tremendous workforce that goes out every day making those 50,000 encounters that the chief spoke about, doing that with professionalism, with honor and integrity. And the rescues, the life-saving work that our agents do, when they're out there in the field making contact with somebody, when that turns into a medical or life-saving emergency, it doesn't matter where those people came from, who they are, how they got there. Our commitment is to public safety and is serving, supporting, and rescuing anybody that needs it. Those rescues are examples of that, whether that be illegal immigrants, illegal aliens that come across the border that we encounter in serious medical shape, or it's our neighbors that we encounter in vehicle accidents, or rescuing people that get lost hiking in remote areas. Those are things that we do every day, and I think we do it better than anybody else. So I remain proud of this organization, and to have the opportunity to stand here as the chief of the Laredo sector is truly an honor and privilege for me. I had the honor of serving in the sector here, as was mentioned before, and built tremendous partnerships and friendships with a lot of the community members, community officials here in Laredo. So when Chief Scott and Chief Ortiz called me and asked me to come over here to Laredo, there was no hesitation in saying yes and saying thank you for that opportunity. I know the work, I know the challenge, but I also know the tremendous opportunities that we have in this community. And as I've had the opportunity to visit with stakeholders throughout our community, I'm inspired by the words of encouragement and thanks that they have for our organization and for our men and women. When I hear things like, thank you, appreciate what you guys do, you're doing tremendous work. That's not about me. That is about our men and women that are out there doing this job day and night, every day of the year. They are the ones that those accolades are pointed to. I just get to have the privilege of standing there hearing it. And my job is being able to communicate that back to everybody else. So to our community that continues to support us, thank you very much. Over the last 2 months that I've been here, we've asked the community to step in and help us with tips and information to help us do our job better. And I'm very happy to say we've gotten a tremendous amount of support. A lot of the work that we're doing and the tremendous successes that we're having are from tips from the community. Those successes carry on as examples of the success that we have through our partnerships. We have a tremendous community of law enforcement agencies here in Laredo, and that I think is probably one of the most significant pieces and assets that we have to keep this community safe. It's the example of law enforcement agencies across the spectrum, federal, state, local, working together, keeping a community safe. And we all know certainly the trade industry here in Laredo. The city of Laredo is connected to areas far beyond the border. Every major metropolitan industrial area in this country is in some way associated to Laredo. So threats that we deal with here are by default threats in other areas as well. So we take that responsibility very seriously. And the partnerships that we've developed with the other agencies, but also our industry partners, are proven to be very successful in those efforts as well. So I want to end my comments, keep them relatively short. But again, I want to say thank you to everybody that helped with this event today. But first and foremost, I want to thank our men and women that go out and do a tremendous, honorable job every day, and they do it extremely well. I am proud and truly privileged to have the honor to stand here as their Chief Patrol Agent. So again, thank you very much. Honor first.
Ladies and gentlemen, Laredo Sector Chief Patrol Agent Matthew J. Hudak. This concludes today's ceremony. On behalf of the Border Patrol family, I want to once again thank you for your virtual attendance, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, and honor first.
Congratulations.